Madara Uchiha is often remembered as one of the greatest villains in anime history. A warrior so powerful that entire armies trembled at the mention of his name. A man who stood against nations, defeated legends, and nearly reshaped reality itself. But if we look deeper than the battles, the jutsu, and the spectacle, Madara represents something far more relevant to our own lives. He represents the psychological danger of an unchecked ego. He represents what happens when intelligence turns into arrogance, when confidence becomes superiority, and when pain transforms into a belief that only you know what is best for everyone else. Madara's story is not really about power. It is about control. It is about a man who became convinced that his vision was the only vision worth following. And that mindset is far more common than most people realize. When Madara was young, he was not a monster. He was a child born into chaos. He grew up during an era where war was normal and death was expected. Friends died. Family members died. Trust was a luxury few could afford. Like many people who experience repeated disappointment and loss, Madara developed a worldview shaped by suffering. He stopped believing that people could create lasting peace. He stopped believing that humanity could overcome its flaws. Instead of seeing pain as a challenge to grow through, he began seeing it as proof that the world itself was fundamentally broken. This is where the first psychological lesson emerges. Pain can either make you wiser or make you cynical. Wisdom acknowledges suffering, but still believes improvement is possible. Cynicism assumes suffering proves improvement is impossible. Madara chose cynicism. Many people make this same mistake. They get betrayed once and decide nobody can be trusted. They fail in business and conclude success is impossible. They experience heartbreak and convince themselves that love is a lie. Instead of learning from the experience, they allow the experience to define their entire worldview. Madara gradually became trapped inside his own conclusions. Every negative experience reinforced his belief that humanity was incapable of peace. Every conflict became evidence supporting his perspective. He stopped searching for possibilities and started collecting proof that he was right. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. Once we adopt a belief, we unconsciously look for evidence that supports it, while ignoring evidence that contradicts it. Madara became a victim of his own certainty. The more powerful he became, the more dangerous this certainty became. Power has an interesting effect on human psychology. Many people believe power corrupts, but power doesn't always create corruption. Often, power simply amplifies what already exists. If someone has wisdom, power amplifies wisdom. If someone has insecurity, power amplifies insecurity. If someone has ego, power amplifies ego. Madara's growing power amplified his belief that he was different from everyone else. This is where we begin to see what psychologists often call a God complex. A God complex is not merely believing you are powerful. It is believing that your judgment is superior to everyone else's. It is the conviction that you alone possess the answers, while everyone else remains blind. It is the belief that your vision justifies controlling the choices of others. Madara reached a point where he no longer wanted to convince people. He wanted to decide for them. Think about that for a moment. True leaders inspire people to choose. Madara wanted to remove choice altogether. The infinite Tsukuyomi was presented as a path to peace, but psychologically it was something much darker. It was the ultimate expression of control. Madara looked at humanity and concluded that freedom itself was the problem. If people had no freedom, there would be no conflict. If people lived inside an illusion, there would be no suffering. At first glance, this sounds logical. But this is the trap of ego-driven thinking. Ego often disguises itself as wisdom. It convinces us that because we can see a problem, we have the right to impose a solution. It tells us that because our intentions are good, our methods don't matter. Madara genuinely believed he was helping humanity. That is what makes his character so fascinating. He was not driven by greed. He was driven by conviction. And conviction without humility can become incredibly dangerous. History is filled with individuals who believed they were saving the world while causing tremendous destruction. The common factor is always the same. They became so attached to their vision that they stopped questioning themselves. Madara never stopped to ask one critical question. What if I'm wrong? That single question protects people from countless mistakes. Humility is not weakness. Humility is the recognition that no matter how intelligent, experienced, or powerful you become, there are still things you do not know. Humility keeps your mind open. Ego closes it. Madara's downfall began the moment he stopped learning. Most people think learning ends when you become skilled. In reality, learning ends when you believe you've already mastered everything. The moment you think you have all the answers is the moment your growth stops. This is why the strongest leaders often remain curious. The best entrepreneurs continue learning. The greatest athletes still seek coaching. The wisest people understand that there is always another perspective. Madara reached the opposite conclusion. He believed he had transcended ordinary understanding. He believed his suffering had granted him a unique insight into reality itself. This is another psychological danger many people face. Sometimes intelligence creates isolation. When someone becomes highly competent, they may start viewing others as incapable of understanding them. Over time, this can evolve into superiority. They stop listening, they stop collaborating, they stop respecting alternative viewpoints. Madara slowly isolated himself from humanity, both physically and psychologically. He no longer saw people as individuals with their own dreams and struggles. He saw them as obstacles to his vision. Once you stop seeing people as people, it becomes easier to justify controlling them. This lesson extends beyond anime. In workplaces, relationships, businesses, and even families, people sometimes develop a mini version of Madara's mindset. They become convinced that everyone else is wrong. They insist on controlling every detail. They believe only their way works. At first, this may produce short-term success, but over time, it creates resentment, isolation, and stagnation. The irony is that Madara spent his entire life pursuing peace, yet his methods guaranteed endless conflict. Because peace cannot be forced, peace cannot be imposed, peace must be chosen. One of the greatest contrasts in Naruto is the difference between Madara and Naruto himself. Both experienced suffering, both witnessed loss, both saw darkness in the world. But their conclusions were completely different. Madara looked at humanity's flaws and concluded people needed control. Naruto looked at humanity's flaws and concluded people needed understanding. Madara lost faith in people. Naruto invested faith in people. That difference changed everything. This teaches an important lesson about mindset. Events do not determine our destiny. Interpretations do. Two people can experience the same hardship and emerge with completely different beliefs. One becomes bitter, the other becomes resilient. One becomes closed-minded, the other becomes compassionate. The event matters, but the meaning we assign to the event matters even more. Madara assigned meaning that led toward control and domination. Naruto assigned meaning that led toward connection and growth. In many ways, Madara represents a warning against allowing pain to become your identity, a warning against allowing intelligence to become arrogance, a warning against allowing success to convince you that you are above criticism, a warning against becoming so attached to your vision that you lose sight of other human beings. Because the greatest threat to growth is not failure, it is certainty. When you are certain you know everything, you stop evolving. When you are certain everyone else is wrong, you stop listening. When you are certain your perspective is superior, you stop understanding. Madara became one of the strongest individuals in history, yet he became imprisoned by his own beliefs. His body was free. His power was limitless. But his mind was trapped inside a worldview he could no longer question. That is the ultimate tragedy of his character. He conquered armies, but could not conquer his ego. He mastered incredible power, but never mastered himself. And perhaps that is the deepest lesson Madara Uchiha offers us. True strength is not the ability to dominate others. True strength is the ability to challenge your own assumptions. True strength is remaining teachable when you are talented. True strength is remaining humble when you are successful. True strength is maintaining compassion when life gives you reasons to become cynical. Because power without wisdom creates destruction. Intelligence without humility creates blindness. And conviction without self-awareness creates the illusion that you are saving the world, when in reality, you may be losing yourself. Madara Uchiha's story reminds us that the most dangerous battlefield is not the one outside us. It is the one within. The battle between ego and humility. The battle between control and trust. The battle between believing we have all the answers and remaining open to growth. And unlike Madara, that is a battle we still have the opportunity to win.